Want to open this up with a word of prayer? Dear Lord, thank you for giving us safe traveling mercy to get back here to Montgomery. We thank you for the service you're allowing us to provide to the citizens of this state. Guide us and direct us to do the best of our abilities. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Before we get started, I want to introduce my father, Rex Ingram. He's here. This is the first time he's ever been down here.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I am in trouble.
Good to have you.
He's soon to be 89 and just retired. So now is the first time he's ever really had a chance to come down.
Just retired.
Well, just retired. Yeah.
Wow.
He's still farms, raises cattle and stuff like that. But yeah. Clerk call roll.
Yes, sir. Representative Ingram?
Here.
Representative Wood?
Here.
Dr. Boyd?
Here.
Representative Hurst? Representative Clark?
Present.
Representative Crawford? Representative Jones?
Here.
Representative Fiddler?
Here.
Representative Hammett?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Harrison? Representative Stubbs?
Here.
Representative Underwood?
I'm here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. First bill up is HB 471, and we are going to move pretty fast today, guys, because we go in at 1.
Right.
Chairman Garrett.
And he just told me the speaker will just, since he's the only one signed up as a proponent,
Okay.
that he would just, yeah.
I might need the help, but, you know.
Okay. Okay. All right. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. This is a bill that really relates to personnel board matters strictly with my city. The way that this is worded, it's only related to the city of Trussville. Why am I bringing a state bill? Because the Jefferson County Personnel Board was created by legislative statute. And so to deal with this issue, it has to be statewide bill, not just a county bill. That's what I'm doing. I also want to say, I think you guys know me, that I'm not one to kind of try to do slick maneuvers and try to do things behind the scenes. We've had this issue going on really since 2019. We've been talking about it for years. This session, I've been working very closely with Senator Smitherman, not that he's committed to this bill, but in trying to determine what might be acceptable to him in the Senate and our delegation members. He's actually, the comments that he's given me about the legislation reflect this bill. So I just want to let you know that I've been trying to be above board transparent, which is the end of the session here. We're trying to move. As you know, in the current law, if you have a county of 400,000 people, you have a city of 5,000, each city within that county, 5,000 people, must have a county personnel board. And the law further provides that if you're a city into 2 counties, you can elect to opt in or not. However, once you opt in, there's no provision to opting out. And the city of Trussville, where we live, we're on the end of Jefferson County, right to the St. Clair County border. We are growing. We have grown into St. Clair County, so now we are in 2 counties. This bill would basically say that we would have the ability to opt out with 6 months' notice. The chart that I have here, you really can't see, but we point out that it only applies to Class 8 municipalities with 25,000 people or more. Trussville is the only Class 8 municipality with 25,000 people, so that's very specific to us. It would allow in the bill that we would give 6 months' notice, and it would also mention here that any municipality that opts out from the county personnel board jurisdiction shall create its own municipal civil service system, which shall ensure that the vested or vesting rights of any existing appointees to the city's civil service system are protected and not otherwise altered or diminished, except as otherwise provided by law. So basically protecting the employees that are currently there. Trussville has grown 40% in the last 10 years or so. When I moved there 30 years ago, we had 6,000 people. We're over 26,000, one of the fastest growing. We just really have outgrown the capacity of the Jefferson County Personnel Board doing that issue. So I'm requesting that we.
Chairman, you want to introduce your mayor?
Yes, Mayor Buddy Choate's here to speak.
Glad you joined us.
He has been overseeing our tremendous growth, and so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Right now.
Oh, we got a question.
One question. So is there anybody opposed to this idea? Is there any opposition?
There's nobody here. I mean, I guess nobody's contacted me in opposition.
I hear a second.
I hadn't finished mine.
Oh, you got a question. All right, we still got a motion on
Sorry
here.
about that, Larry.
All right.
I looked at your bill very closely, and I understand why you're doing it as a general bill rather than a local bill, and I think you did well explaining that. I was particularly interested in the bill preserving all the rights of the present employees who are in trustful, who also come under a new system, which has been unusual when I see these kind of bills, so I was particularly interested in that. What, and I guess you may or may not know the answer to this, why is it necessary to do it?
You have this our own person, because I think that initially the person on board was set up to deal with cities, primarily could not afford to have it, or could not have the wherewithal to have HR departments to do the hiring, it was assistance to these type of committees, or these communities. In our situation, when you're rapidly growing, we have so many needs, we literally can't fill positions under the current system. I think we just outgrown, we're larger than many systems in the county that are, many communities that don't have our own personnel. It's just I think trustful never realized they can get the work they're in right now. So it's really just, we think it's better suited for our community and our needs. And we have had discussions over again, I'm not saying Jefferson County's okay with this, but what I'm saying is they haven't really pushed back. They understand. I think people understand what's going on in our community and the needs we have, and so I think there's a recognition.
So it would be minimal financial impact on the system as it relates to you opting out.
Yes.
All right, I got a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Bill's given a favor report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you,
No.
Chairman.
One no.
One no.
One no.
No.
Two no.
All right.
Thank you.
I got it. All right, we're gonna skip over, HB 501, we'll do it last. HB 491, Representative Faulkner is here. No? All right, I'm gonna text him right quick, make sure we realize we're meeting today. SB 215 has already passed the House and the Senate on the House version, so we're gonna indefinitely postpone that one. SB 215. All right, moving forward to SB 163, a public hearing. Senator Williams, is anybody representing this for Senator Williams? All right, fix him as well. We'll move forward with the public hearing. We have 4 opponents and 2 proponents. So we'll get started on, Philip, are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got the floor, sir. What's your name and who you're with?
Good
You got
afternoon.
3, and out of abundance of caution, I mean, just for time wise, we're gonna give you all 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you today. My name's Philip McCurry. I'm a major with the Mobile Police Department. I've got other members of the Police Department and Fire Department with me today. We were each required to take a vacation day, drive our personal vehicles up here today. That's how important this bill is to each of us. Who I am representing is the 5,000 merit employees in Mobile County and the 500 police benevolent law enforcement officers in Mobile County. The way our police department is set up, there's 4 majors. We're all merit employees. Then we have an assistant chief and chief, which are appointed positions. They're at-will employees. 4 majors are merit employees. All 4 majors do not support this bill. The other 3 would be with me today, but they have promotional assessments to deal with. We came up here, I'm sure you're familiar, on March 22nd by a bill that Jeff Brown sponsored. And this bill here, 163, states it takes the hiring and recruitment out of the hands of the personnel board. Well, the police department and the fire department, we already do our own recruitment. We have hired somebody that does that for us. And I do not deal with the hiring on our department, but the major that does. Nobody has spoken to him about a problem with the hiring. What he tells me the problem is in the mayor's office. When we want to hire somebody, we have to send a request to Human Resources, then sends it to the purchasing department to see if we have the money. Well, we do our own budgets. We know we have the money. We're down over 80 officers. We have plenty of money to hire people. That's got to be sent back to Human Resources, then it goes to the Public Safety Director, then the mayor. That's the holdup with this hiring. Now, the problem with this is if you take the hiring process away from the personnel board, it's going to lead to favoritism, nepotism, unfair hiring process. Now, where the deception is in this bill, I heard the other gentleman say about sneaking things in. There's only 3 words that could be added to this bill and we wouldn't have a problem. And that's entry-level positions. And that's left out on purpose because what it allows them to do, I've been there 28 years. I can put my papers in today. This doesn't affect me one bit. This is about the men and women that serve that city. If I retire, they would be able to hire somebody in my major position that's, as long as they're APO certified. That is not right. That does away with the process of the personnel board of earning your rank and moving up. And that's why we're here against it. I appreciate your time.
We appreciate you.
Can we ask questions?
Yes.
Sir, you're talking about the 80 officers that are understaffed.
Yes, sir.
Why are you not able to?
People just don't want to do the job. When I came on 28 years ago, I competed with over 1,000 people. Just the way the culture is in the country right now, people don't want to do the job. But that's what's important about this. You have to give these people an opportunity to make a career out of it. If they're seeing they're just bringing in their buddy into positions, why would they want to stay there? It's gonna kill my morale. I mean, I have over 300 sworn and civilian people under my command. And, you know, that's the thing about leadership. There's a big misconception. People are not there to serve you. I have 300 people, and not one of them there to serve me. I'm here to serve them. And that's why I'm here today. This is that important.
One other question, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
How long has it been time you start the process through the personnel board to you're able to?
That's what I'm saying.
You had some.
I got Sergeant Badon. She's about to split, and she was hired on 11 years ago. It was 1 month. But you got a background check. It's going to take you a little bit of time. And we have so few now, we can process it so much quicker. That's what I'm saying. The key is, if it's about hiring new people, why don't you put entry-level positions only? That's not what they're wanting. They're wanting to bring people in at higher supervisory positions that have never served the city, and that's wrong.
Representative Boyd.
This goes deep with me.
Yes, ma'am. Me
Deeper
too.
than you think. My ex-husband was one of the first black policemen hired in Anniston. I was young at the time, but now I look back and I think a lot of things that were done right. By the way, he was brilliant. He passed every test, from patrolman, police lieutenant, whatever they are out of the ranks, until nerve deafness and some other things. At that time, my city hired within, did not advertise. My question to you on these personnel boards, so I want you to understand, I'm just not talking today. This is something that concerns me deeply for other people who are coming behind. How many hire within, or are you required to advertise now, especially for promotions?
Yes, and actually, like I said, we're finishing up this week our promotion process, and the way that is designed now on the personnel board, you have to go for the rank of corporal, you have to be an officer for 2 years. But if this passes the way it's written, this would allow them to hire people and pay people more money than the officers who have been dedicated to the city. That's the issue with this bill.
All right, let's move on out of a time issue. Sarah, is that bad?
Badon.
Badon,
Mr.
okay.
Chairman, I got a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I understand the time constraint, but this is a serious
Yes,
issue.
it is.
We can't just brush over. This is a serious issue.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, I had some questions. I don't know if Representative Clark had some. And I just think that, you know, when these folk drive up here, we ought to at least listen to what they have to say and get a chance to ask some questions.
I agree, and we're gonna do it out of abundance of caution, though. We're not gonna vote on it today. The senator didn't show up, so I'm not taking a motion on this today. You have the floor, man. State your name and who you're with.
Sarah Badon, and I'm with Mobile Police Department, and I'm the Vice President of the Mobile Chapter Police Benevolent Association, and I want to thank the members of the chair and Mr. Chair for the opportunity to speak. I'm here today to represent approximately 550 police benevolent association with, I'm with the Mobile Chapter. I'm a Emeritus employee myself. As a female in law enforcement, I may not be here, you know, where I am today if it wasn't for our civil service system. So I'm very thankful for it. The Personnel Board was created by the state legislature in 1939. through the Civil Service Act to govern and control and to keep those practices in place to prevent nepotism and favoritism and political factors so that we could be hired. The civil service system has been in place for 84 years. So my question is, why change it now? It works. Civil service employees are not here for the money. The public sector, we do this because we care for the people. And that's why I'm here today. And certainly, having a viable civil service system in place is a benefit to the employees. I actually attended in April when the bill was presented, Senate Bill 203. We weren't allowed to speak. It wasn't a public hearing. So I'm really thankful that you have allowed me to speak today. Ms. Lyons, she spoke. She was for the bill. She got up and said that the police and firefighters were for this bill, but I'm here to tell you today, we are not. We do not want this bill to pass. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. All right, William.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All the good stuff.
I'm William Erickson, President of the Mobile Firefighters Association. I was just here a month and a half ago, so I won't rehash all of that, but I do want to recognize I've got 4 firefighters from chief rank to paramedic driver that took a day off their side job to come with me today. They're not members of our board and are about 2/3 of their way through their careers, so it means enough to us deep in our career that we want to show up and express concerns about this bill. Besides the concerns I expressed last time, that this seems like there's just an approach to try to undermine the personnel board in general and get rid of it. We haven't seen any conversations going on about issues affecting the personnel board hiring process that we can work to mitigate. I have heard some issues brought to my attention about maybe highly competitive jobs in IT or accounting that are, different in the personnel board realm as far as maybe needing a faster hiring process. I don't know. What we're facing in the fire department is an incredibly low level of interest in applicants, and we're not able to retain employees. We lost 41 to resignation last year on our department, about 8% of our department. And that to me is, if the idea is we solve the problem by just spinning people into the system faster, we're losing incredibly valuable experience. And that's largely people like us who are discussing leaving a department deep in our career near a pension because we don't feel the support that our career deserves. And so we think this bill is kind of, it's putting a Band-Aid on a much bigger problem. Ultimately, the hiring process is a major part of why the personnel board exists. And if we get rid of the hiring process, we feel like the personnel board in the next few years very likely goes away, and all the rights and interests we want go away with it. So we're here to try to protect those interests, but recognize that if there is some unique carve out that needs to be made, keeping public safety, public works, etc., within the personnel board would, we think, reserve enough interest in that board and the rights that we have that it would still exist and protect our members. And the reality is this is supposed to be a 30-year career. We're supposed to be trying to build people through the process that don't have to worry about whether they get skipped on a promotion by somebody that's not as qualified. They're able to retain that experience for our city. And we feel like this is kind of part of a process of just being made disposable, and it's going to impact our ability to protect the citizens the way they deserve. So I appreciate the opportunity to address you, and I hope this bill ends up going into a much deeper conversation about any issues that need to be addressed.
All right, thanks. I appreciate you coming down. J.D. Hobby.
My hearing aids aren't working too well today, so I haven't heard a lot. I'm J.D. Hobby. I'm the Executive Director of the Police Development Association of Alabama. We've got 6,000 members statewide from Mobile to Huntsville. We've got 8 chapters with 8 chapter presidents stretched out in those areas too. And I had talked to everybody that I could talk to in the PDA, and nobody, no police officer that I've talked to is in favor of this bill or any bill like it. I don't understand why it needs to be done. One thing I've been told by the opponents of it is we can't hire enough police officers. And that's true. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore. They're looking at other things to do. But personnel boards do a tremendous job of background investigations on these officers that do want to be police officers. And they're fully vetted before their names are put in to be hired. What the police officers out there are afraid of is the standards will be lowered, the standards that they had to meet to be hired. If those standards are lower, then there definitely would be a problem all over. So basically, that's all I've got to say. I'll answer any questions you might have. But like I said, we've got 8 chapters statewide, 6,000 members, all of them that I've talked to. No one has said they'd be in favor of getting rid of the Civil Service Board in Alabama.
All right, Mr. Hobby, thank you so much. Any questions for any of the proponents or opponents?
One for Mr. Hobby. Sir?
Mr. Hobby.
Yes, sir.
Representative Sargent's got a question.
I think the major talked about that one amendment, entry level only. Are you of the understanding, are you okay with that, if that amendment was added to the bill?
I don't know what the amendment is. I didn't hear it.
Okay. It was suggestion that he said he had no problem with it if it was entry level only.
Okay. I wouldn't have any.
So you would agree with what he says?
Yeah, I agree with what he said.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks. Now proponents, Beth Line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Beth Lyons, and I represent the city of Mobile, Mayor, City Council. Appreciate your patience with the Mobile issue. I know most of you around the table don't have countywide civil service program like we do. It was established in 1938, and it covers everybody: city employees, county employees, the water board, housing board. All of them have to rely on the personnel board to give them the list of employees that are suitable for their positions. This has been an issue in our community ever since I've been representing the city, almost 30 years, and the county, the same amount of time. And I thought this was a good idea. I thought it was a compromise where we left the personnel board intact to handle all the suspension, hearings, appeals, grievances, dismissals, but allowed any entity that wished to withdraw and set up its own personnel system to withdraw simply for the purpose of recruitment and hiring. That is where the complaints are. I've talked to these gentlemen and ladies, and I am certainly willing to talk with them. I know this bill is not going to get out of this committee today, that's obvious, but the heart is there to try to figure out something that can accommodate the city, the county, the housing board, all of which, and the water board, all of which are frustrated with the timetables and the fact that when they do finally get a list to hire somebody, many times they're not, people on the list are not what they're looking for. Now, this is the police department here, they're fine folks, and I hate that I'm up here when they're here, and the fire department, they're my friends. And we've talked about this prior to today. So I just can assure you that I will continue to work on this. The bill's gonna come back again, as it has for years, trying to find the best of both worlds where we can protect the employees. Under this bill, like any new employee hired would become a merit system employee, enjoy all the protections they have today. We have a brand new personnel board director who's going to speak to you in a minute, who has the challenge of working to accommodate the entities that the personnel board serves. So we're hopeful that that will work. I'm for him. We're all for Mr. Bourne. He's been on the job for, I think, a week and a half. He'll speak to you briefly, but again, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate. I'm sorry?
Testify as the expert.
Anyway, thank you for listening to all of us, who are for it and who are against this idea. Everything in this system takes work and, working with everybody, and I pledge to do that. But I appreciate your patience with this.
Thank you, Ms. Beth. All right, next up, Adam Bourne.
Oh, dear,
question? Oh, okay.
my mayor, I work for him.
She knows I got a list of questions. First question is, has there been any thought given to what impact withdrawal has on the financial stability of the entire system?
Yes, and that's one of the problems. You know, we've had 2 of our cities sue the personnel board and prevail in court. And under that decision, and they're out, totally out. So no protections for their merit system.
But let's talk about how
Well,
that got up.
But they got out, but the ruling that the judge gave says any municipality that's under 5,000 county corporation is allowed to withdraw.
Yes.
We have several other cities who may want to do that. And if that's part of the reason the personnel board was interested in this bill, because if they withdraw, each entity now pays them, as you know, pays them to do that program for them. So the personnel board's idea was, let's come up with this compromise. We're gonna try to convince them to stay in with a new director, but at the same time, if they do elect to withdraw, the employees are still protected. But yes, there is a financial impact, especially if the
But
city
you
and
are
county.
aware that 75 to 80% of the revenue that the personnel board gets is just from 2 entities.
City and the county,
Okay.
that's correct. You know I know that.
Okay.
You taught me that.
We want everybody else to hear that.
That's right. Secondly, I noticed that in the bill for Birmingham, they actually spelled out what rights people who are already in the merit system have. Did you consider that?
Well, I didn't have time to do that, and knowing where this bill was going, at this point, I didn't do that. I did spell out what rights the future employees in this bill would have, being merit system. And I think there's a sentence in there that says, current merit system employees shall continue to enjoy all rights. But I thought that was in there.
I didn't find that in there.
Well,
But-
that needs to be in there. I definitely agree with you.
Now, my last question is this. Since we've had multiple attempts to do this,
Yes,
you were here before with the other one.
with another idea.
Right. Why don't we sit down and come up with some comprehensive that the employees and all the other people in the municipalities can work with? The big question is, what do they do if the city of Mobile pulls out or the county pulls out? The system is dead. It's over.
Well, personnel board members had discussions about that. Personnel board members have said that they believe they can protect all the employees of the personnel board. They have 26 employees. And that they will be doing other things with redefinition.
We don't have that in here.
It's not in the bill.
Hey, guys, we're gonna move on.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to take so much time.
No worries.
I want you to
No,
hear
I'm
from
taking
Adam.
All right, all right, Adam, we're gonna get to you in a minute. We're gonna hold off on this right here, and Representative Faulkner, you have the floor on HB 491. Because we gotta go in at 12, but we're gonna try to make it through.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I hope y'all get back to the public hearing, because I think that can go on after we're in session. But I appreciate you listening to this bill. The Department of Revenue drafted this for me. I meant to drop it earlier. It's making some common sense adjustments to our law, notifying taxpayers. And I don't see any of my colleagues from Jefferson on this committee, but in my area, I don't ever get my property notice until about September, late August, September. And the department has told me it should be by July 1st, and there's really no date. You know, we're supposed to know that when your property taxes, and you get a card if they go up. And so the first thing this does, it just sets a date. The department said this is extremely reasonable, is July 1st. Is a date that you should be notified if your property taxes are going up. The other thing it does, it's
Representative Faulkner, I'm gonna interrupt you. If anybody wants to act on this, we gotta stop at 1 o'clock, and we're gonna suspend the rules on the floor and come back. But by the rules, we have to stop at 1. Do I hear a motion on this?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Your bill give a favorable report.
Thank you,
You're gonna
members, and I'm
report back
happy
on
to
the other
talk to any
bills.
of y'all further.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Dave. Guys, I'm sorry, but, I hear,
I was just gonna say that I can reserve my comments.
well, let's do this. If you drove this far, I wanna hear you. So, let's go make a motion to adjourn, and then we'll sit here for a couple minutes and give you the 3 minutes. Is that okay? Got your motion? All in favor, say
Aye.
all opposed, likewise, you have the floor.
Thank you all, didn't need to jump up.
We are coming back today, guys.
That's right. I'm the new director of the board, started a week and a half ago, and I think Mayor Jones made some great comments about how we need to have a more collaborative process and sit down and try to get everybody on the same page about some legislation going forward. I think my main issue with this particular bill, I mean, in concept, I think the bill is something that could be positive in the sense that it was more narrow and allowed for more expanded use of what we call provisional hiring. You might have a pretty strong argument in favor of a bill like this, but I actually think if you look at this bill, paragraph C, which looks at first glance to be fairly benign language, and I don't think there was anything intentional about the language in that paragraph. But what it could be read to do is it could be read to actually take the personnel board out of the promotional process and merit raise process because it reserves general personnel policy making to city councils and the county commission. And so if those entities were to exercise the authority, like I said, I think the authority that we would be inadvertently giving them, we could miss out on basically everything that happens in between hiring and firing. And that's what a lot of folks who haven't spent a lot of time in local government don't realize is there's a long process in between those two things. It involves promotional processes to ensure that those are merit-based. In fact, the major made an allusion to the last 2 weeks we've been doing the Mobile Police Department promotional process, and it's actually one of the things that the board does right. It's a very strong, very fair process, and it's actually kind of impressive to watch. It involves out-of-state law enforcement executives coming in to add some objectivity to the process, people who don't know the individuals involved, and then also, of course, the majors at NPD play a large part in that process as well. And it's a great time at our office because you see officers coming and they're dressed in their finest business suits and they're there for business and they're discussing scenarios that they might encounter as lieutenants and captains and sergeants. It's a very valuable process. So there's so much that we do right, and I would hate for us to inadvertently remove all of those types of processes. So I'm a collaborative kind of person. I think that's why I was chosen for the position. So I love the idea of just over the next year or so we sit down and see if we can hammer out a compromise that makes everybody happy. So I appreciate
Any
the
questions?
time is here, but
Not new to the system. How long with the personnel board?
I've been a merit system employee for 11 years. I worked at the sheriff's office, and then I was deputy license commissioner for Mobile County. And so I've only been in this job for a week and a half. I will say that contrary to how some might feel from outside of the government process, our employees are really phenomenal people. They just need some direction, some leadership, and I hope that I'm in a position to offer them that. We have about 29 employees, and they really believe in what they do. And I think given the right leadership and given adequate resources, they could really surprise us in making the system better than it's ever been before. So I'm hoping we can do it, and if for whatever reason we need to go the legislative route, I would just like to be involved in coming up with a compromise that makes almost everybody happy. You can't make 100% of them happy, but maybe most.
I just got a statement, so.
Yes, sir.
I'm happy to hear you say, at least I know that you identify what the real problems are, has to do with leadership, and that's one thing. The other thing is I think that what you're basically saying is what the board should have been doing, because the board has rule-making authority that can handle all these issues you just talked about here. They don't have to come to
Have
us.
to come to us. That's right. We would appreciate you making that happen.
That's right, that's right. I'm aware that there's a ton we can do by rulemaking, and we have mostly a new board, and they're committed to making some changes. So I think we've got a good thing going, and we just gotta keep pushing forward with it.
Have not seen who your new board members are. Would you share that information with us, Adam?
Oh, sure. You've got.
And I don't mean now.
Okay.
In essence, just an email. Yeah.
I will, definitely.
Just one quick question, who hires you?
Personnel board, so the personnel board is a 5-member board, part-time board. They hire me to run day-to-day operations and to make a fair amount of decisions regarding, these matters. And then the Personnel Board is appointed by a group of elected officials that is set out by statute. It's every mayor in the county, every countywide elected official in the county. And there's several employee representatives, the firemen have a representative, police, and then there's a general civilian representative on there, and they're elected by their peers to serve in those roles. And then also the president of the Mobile County Municipal Association is a member of that committee. I actually once held that role, so I've seen it from that side too.
You might wanna say who chairs the committee.
Yeah, the chairman is Donnie Brown, who is actually a retired Mobile firefighter.
All right, guys, we're gonna come back at 2 with the
Thank
permission of the speaker, but, thank y'all so much. Guys, thank y'all for coming up, and I know it's a long drive for a short amount of time, but we thank y'all for what you do. It's great information, and, we look forward to working with y'all.
Thanks for allowing us to speak.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Y'all have a safe trip home.
Thank you.